Thank you, Bienvenido. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Great. It's good to see you. Glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you for giving yourself the gift of more tools for your life. We have a great talk today and some beautiful musicians. We have Terry O'Hara on the piano. We have Bienvenido. We have Peter Kirkland here. Thank you, Peter. And we have Reverend Caroline as our practitioner this morning. She's filling in for Mona, who unfortunately isn't feeling well, but what I'm knowing right now is that Mona is healed right here and right now. That whatever is troubling her in her physical body is now corrected and healed, and she will be here second service. So again, welcome to everybody watching this morning. Let's see here. We are at the opening prayer. It's all you.
Good morning. Just settle back into your chair comfortably and let go of anything that is troubling. Any little worry, set them aside. For we are here to take another step on our spiritual journey, and we join together in our understanding of God within, guiding, directing, and loving us. And as we listen to God's words as spoken through Reverend Matthew, we can release all of our cares and our concerns. So we open our hearts and our minds to the message that is here for us today, and we give thanks for this opportunity to be together, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Caroline. Now we have an opening song by Peter Kirkland, Change is Gonna Come. Very fitting for today's message.
I was born by the river in a little tent. I've been running ever since. A long time coming. Whoa, whoa. I was born by the river in a little tent, but whoa, just like the river, I've been a-running ever since. It's been a long time coming, and I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, and I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. When I go to the movies and I go downtown, somebody out there doesn't want me around. It's been a long time coming, and I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. When I go to my brother, I say, brother, help me please. Oh, you wind up knocking me on my knees. Oh, it's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause Lord, I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, and I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Change is gonna come. It's been a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Today you have an opportunity to step into the change that's coming in your life, that is already unfolding, and to move through it in a new way. It's really about revisiting some of the qualities of science of mind and kind of getting a refresher course in a way, but we'll dig into it today. And our message today is labeled, "Is your commitment greater than your resistance?" So we'll dig into that. I want to make a few announcements first. We have a bunch of new classes coming up, and these are redesigned by Home Office. They're going through and redesigning their curriculum. And the reason for this is they want to create classes that are easy for you to take, that fit with schedules that you have today in your life. A lot of them are going to be through Zoom, or a combination perhaps, depending on where our center is with the COVID restrictions and whatnot. And for example, one class is Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. I just started that class on Monday. It's basically a combination of our membership class and foundations together. The curriculum is really rich. It's beautiful. We got into it right away on Monday. We started digging into the depths of the information and connecting with it. And the wonderful thing about this class is it's 5 weeks long rather than several weeks at a time. So there's some flexibility, and we have several other classes coming up that are based on visioning, meditation, and whatnot. And so as those things come out, we'll be sharing those with you via our website, talking about them, and also in the bulletin. So I'd like to encourage you to go to our website, csltacoma.org, check out the offerings, and check out the tuition for these classes. A lot of it is also lower. We're really trying to make this accessible so that these beautiful skills and spiritual offerings are here for you at any time. And Francis and I are also working on changing our curriculum here in the center, deciding which classes can lead you through the process and potentially allow you to become a practitioner. Good stuff. So thank you. And we have another song by Peter. Gotta believe in something.
People talk about the weather like it's always gonna rain. They say it's getting harder when it's ever gonna change. Should take a look at all the flowers in the field, for none was stressed like this. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe all things work together for the good. No matter what the cost, no matter what we lost, you gotta believe. You gotta believe. So much anger and confusion will get the world to change. Forget the world around you. Come on and pray for change. Look at the birds up in the sky. No, they don't feed, but they will find a way to eat. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe all things come together for the good. No matter what the cost, no matter what we've lost, you gotta believe. You gotta believe. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe all things come together for the good. No matter what the cost, no matter what is lost, you gotta believe. You gotta believe. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe in something. You gotta believe all things come together for the good. No matter what the cost, no matter what is lost, you gotta believe. You gotta believe. You gotta believe. You gotta believe.
Thank you, Peter, and welcome to those of you who just came in a few minutes ago. So today's talk is your commitment greater than your resistance. I want to start by just taking a moment to settle and become still and quiet so we can open our minds and our consciousness to receive this today. So I'd like to invite you to place your feet flat on the floor. Allow that chair to support you wherever you're seated. Those of you at home, find a place to be comfortable. Place your feet flat on the floor. And let's focus on our breath for a moment. Just noticing that beautiful rhythm. That ever-present rhythm of our breath. Recognize the breath we take is the breath of the entire universe. And as we know this for ourselves, we know that we have freedom. We have freedom to show up, to step into the truth of our individual being. We have the freedom to step out of that which we need to let go of. And as we become still and quiet, we just let that truth pour in. Just make room in your consciousness this morning. In your mind, in your heart space, and simply allow whatever the divine wants to express to you today to just simply pour in. Because there is simply no separation between you and the divine. It's the dance of eternity. That beautiful, beautiful dance. So this morning as we talk about moving in the pattern of your vision, and talking about what might hold us back. I just invite you to continue to let whatever comes up for you to slide away. Because from any given moment we start fresh, as Ernest Holmes talked about. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins talked about, there is a good for me and I ought to have it. That lays it out pretty clear. There's simply nothing in the way. So I welcome you and invite you to turn back towards your breath as we come back to the room this morning. Refreshed, clear, alive, and ready. Are you ready to get into this? Okay, great. So I want to start. I have a few readings for you, but I want to begin by just going over the definition of commitment and resistance. This is from Merriam-Webster. Commitment, the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause or an activity. The synonyms that I found here, it's a vow, it's a promise, it's an oath, a contract, or a covenant. Emma Curtis Hopkins, the teacher of teachers who taught Ernest so much, talks about covenants. She talked about covenants, and she created these covenants. These are covenants that we make between us and the divine. And you know what? When we make a covenant, we're pulled in the direction of our good. And sometimes we get scared. So here's the definition of resistance. The refusal to accept or comply with something, an attempt to prevent something by action or argument. And we'll get into this in a few minutes about what resistance does to us physically, in our mind, in our consciousness. And then here's an interesting idea of resistance based on the law of resistance through ohms, the electrical flow. I thought this was good. The degree to which a substance or device opposes the passage of electric current, causing energy disruption. Ohm is the law of resistance to the voltage divided by the content. You know what? I think this speaks to universal law of flow. Because electricity is energy, right? We have it all around us. The divine law is all around us. It's about continuous flow. It's about illumination. It's a life-giving force. Just like when you turn on the light, the room becomes alive. The divine flow is like that. When you allow it in, you become alive. You become illuminated. And oftentimes that brings up things that we don't want to look at. Things that we're scared of, that we're resistant to. And here's some examples of resistance, or why we become resistant. We don't think we can do it. We don't believe we're worthy or good enough. We don't believe we deserve it. And sometimes we even believe that we've messed it up so bad that there's no way out. Well, guess what? There's always a way out. And some interesting things I want to read regarding resistance. I just invite you to sit back and soak this good stuff up. And it's interesting, I have a personal example this morning on the way here. I was on I-5 and my oil light came on, and the warning was beeping, and then the dashboard said, oil pressure low, stop engine immediately. So I'm on the way down here, and all of these things started going through my mind. Like, oh no, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? So I pulled over. I went to the nearest gas station. I went inside and I purchased quarts of oil. Started pouring them in, and then I thought, well, I should probably check the dipstick and the oil level. So I did. Turns out that the oil level was actually fine. there's some sort of electrical freakout going with my vehicle, and most likely it's the oil pressure switch that needs to be replaced. So that's on the agenda this week, and I was trying to observe my process. Initially, resistance and fear and stress came up, and this whole idea of, well, what's this going to do to my day? How am I going to get to Tacoma to do my talk this morning? And all of these things started up in my mind. It's amazing how one situation can begin a whole process. And before we know it, we can be overtaken by the stress. That actually leads to resistance. Because when we're in resistance, we aren't open to the way forward. We actually block ourselves. We close down. And we minimize our soul's expression. We minimize our own intelligent expression. And we block God. So I made it here. It's all fine. And it was really nice to be able to move through that situation and put aside resistance and just turn to the divine and say, you know what needs to happen here. Let's work it out. And it all worked out. Just a small example. And I want to read some beautiful things to you from home office about this. Okay. Is your commitment greater than your resistance? One of the greatest stumbling blocks in any man's spiritual advancement, and I'm going to change that to any human's spiritual advancement so that it encompasses everybody, is dishonesty. The refusal to honestly face an idea if that idea happens not to please us. This comes in part from the human tendency to take the line of least resistance. Whether it be in our physical endeavors or in the operation of our mind, confronted with an idea that repudiates one, we have held for years, we go far out of our way, entirely around the idea, to keep from being compelled to analyze and possibly absorb it. Our cry is, I don't like to believe that. Back of this is the fear that an idea may be forced into our consciousness, which will uncover to us our own responsibility. It's by Ernest Holmes. In his book, It's Up to You. You know what? When we're pulled by a vision and we're challenged to be uncomfortable, to move forward, to grow, that requires responsibility. Am I right? That's hard sometimes. And then we have true non-resistance is the surrender of every arrogant attitude of mind to good and to good alone. Those who have made this surrender have found real peace of mind, happiness, and wholeness in the only place it can be found, which is within themselves. Science of Mind magazine. It's a great magazine, by the way. You might want to order it. Now, I like to feel that faith is operated upon by a principle, so that if I won't feel, I have to energize energy. Because if I had to energize energy, I wouldn't know where I would get the energy with which to energize the energy. This is one of those secrets of Jesus, non-resistance. He was a beautiful example for us of non-resistance. And because of that, things unfolded from him that we still have with us today. As with many of the great leaders and the spiritual leaders, Gandhi, Buddha, all of them had something to offer. And one of the most beautiful things that all of them embraced was the idea of non-resistance. Because it frees us, it opens us up. Let's see here. Thanks for bearing with me. I got a little more here, and then we're going to dive deeper. How's this sitting with you so far? Is it settling in? Wonderful. All right, a couple more really important things. If you set up resistance in your mind to the flow of life through you, this emotional congestion will get snarled up in your subconscious mind and cause all kinds of negative conditions. Dr. Joseph Murray. And then we're going to talk about faith here for a minute. Faith is a spiritual conviction that what we know has greater power than any apparent material appearance and or resistance. Thus, in faith, we can surrender into the vision of our I am and know at the deepest level of our being that it is the Father, Mother, God within us that does the work. Resistance is hell, for it places man in a state of torment. Think about that for a minute. When we resist, we feel it. We feel it in our body. We feel it in our emotions. We feel it in our consciousness. And isn't it true that when we're in resistance, it doesn't make that thing go away? It's still there. It gnaws at us. It bothers us. We can try so hard to push it aside, to bulldoze it, to deny it, to go around it, but it's still there. And the reason it's still there is because something is wanting to express some form of truth, some form of stepping forward into our journey. There's a threshold, and we have a choice. That threshold is moving through the resistance onto the other side. And sometimes it takes just one step. We don't have to do it all at once. It takes a breath, an acknowledgement, and a subtle shift. That opens the door. And when we open the door and we take that subtle first step and we begin to trust just a little bit, we're then pulled by the very thing that wants to express. And everything we need in order to move through it begins to line up. That's how the universe works. When we say yes, the doors begin to open. And when we say yes to one small thing, and we surrender to that yes, that begins a momentum. That begins an exponential growth experience. Because the more we say yes, the more we are willing to surrender to the discomfort of change, the more free we become of the bondage of resistance. We're all really here to come home to who we are and to express our qualities, our divine nature. We're called to that. That's who we are. But on this human plane, oftentimes we're given plenty of opportunity to deny that, to resist that idea, that truth. What causes that? Well, a big part of it is fear, as I'm sure you probably know, right? Fear. Fear of what? Fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing exactly how it's going to unfold perfectly and beautifully just the way we want it. Fear of failing, fear of being too much, a belief that we're not worthy, that we don't know how to do it. This morning I want to invite you to just take all of that and clear it away. The divine knows no fear. The universe doesn't operate on fear. We live in the midst of a beautiful energy that is right here all over in this room that knows nothing of fear. Nothing holds it back. like the weed that grows through the crack in the sidewalk. It's not fearful. It's expressing because that's what it knows how to do. Just imagine when you step into the place of surrender and letting go of your fear and actually just taking that first step to challenge it. You're giving a gift, not only to yourself, to your own soul. You're giving a gift to everybody. You're being an example. And oftentimes we believe that we can't really make a big difference, right? Well, one of the most important pieces to being an agent of healing and change is to stop being afraid of who you are. Stop being afraid of your calling. That is so important. You're an individual divine being that is part of that puzzle that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. That cosmic puzzle. All of us fit in. Why not take the space that is given to you? Why not lean into your expression and not worry about what anybody else thinks? Somebody told me a long time ago that this has really stuck with me. What other people think of me is none of my business. You know how much time we spend on worrying about what other people think or how they might react or how they might make fun of us or find a way to undercut us? Well, when we allow that, it happens. And also, whatever we're resisting not only persists, but it actually grows. So the very thing that we're trying to keep at bay, trying to escape, trying to get around, we don't want to deal with it, we actually increase it when we resist. Is this all making sense? I know we've heard some of these things before, but it's so nice to get a refresher and to be able to reconnect. Marianne Williamson talked about this idea, are you living in fear or are you living in love? When we're living in fear, it causes all kinds of challenges. We're seeing the eyes through the untruth of fear. And of course, we live in the midst of an incredible divine universe which is full of intelligence. So as I said a few minutes ago, when we make that simple decision to begin to say yes, everything we need makes itself known. It's a combination of saying yes and surrendering. That's got to be one of the hardest things to do as a human being, isn't it? To surrender. Because we're intelligent. We think we know everything sometimes. We think our brain has the ability to do everything, but our mind is simply a piece of the universal mind, which is just there waiting to give us everything that leads us to our whole selves, leads us back to that. And I want to touch on something from the Bible. We use every holy book here. We honor all paths. And we hold all of them sacred because there's a thread that goes through everything, a thread of truth that goes through every religion. At the core of it is an idea. And so in Genesis, looking at this through the metaphysical eyes, since we're a metaphysical organization, what was the fall about? I think it was about them taking on the false belief that they were somehow separate. That's when they became fearful. That's when they covered themselves because they were shameful. The fall was really moving into fear and believing that they were separate from that very beautiful thing that created them in the first place. And if you look at it, what has that done to us? It's caused a lot of grief, hasn't it? Wars, famine, most of the challenges we have. Are you willing to step out of your fear this morning? and just let go of it, it's often the part that holds us back. Marianne Williamson talked about that. When we shift just a tiny bit out of fear, we don't have to let it go all at once. Just a minor shift, a beginning by saying yes that one time. We begin to change the glasses. We begin to wipe the fog off the glasses. And that one little shift, that one little yes opens the door. And then the more we do it, a multitude of doors opens on our path. Emma Curtis Hopkins, I think I said this a minute ago, but it's so important, said, "There's a good for me and I ought to have it." Go ahead and let your good in. Let yourself have all of the beautiful gifts that are meant to be yours. And by doing that, you're lifting humanity. You really are. It's just your energy alone that begins to shift things. And 40 to 60% of our thoughts are initially negative. That's a lot of negativity, isn't it? So I have a couple things for you this week. One of the things I'd like you to do is become very aware of your resistance. Everything from doing the dishes to getting out of bed 10 minutes earlier, to working in the yard, to the report for work, when you're growing your business, those steps needed to advance that you're afraid to take. Just begin by taking those few small steps. We don't have to do it all at once. And guess what? Once you begin to take those few small steps, the momentum starts. You begin to connect with your truth, that wholeness that you came here to be, that beautiful divine expression that you came here to be. Since we all have gifts, we come here with them. We all have a purpose. We're all a piece of that beautiful cosmic puzzle. That puzzle is calling you. It needs you. It needs you to be your full expression. It needs you to surrender to life, to surrender to that vision that is calling you, and to rest in it. So it's a very subtle shift. And I have it's a pretty light story on resistance that I'm going to share with you. When I was in swimming lessons as a kid, I was really scared of the water. I didn't want to put my face in the water because at some point somebody forced my face in the water and it scared me. I developed a real fear of my face being in the water. I thought, I'm going to die. I can't breathe. So I struggled with my swimming lessons initially because of that. It was just this overwhelming fear. And we came to the point in the lessons where we were doing the high dive. There's a point, one day, we're going to do the high dive today. We all line up, go up that ladder that seems to go on forever, to that narrow little walkway up there. And I had people behind me waiting. I got up there and I was just trembling. I didn't want to let go of the railing. The teacher's down there in the water going, "Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Breathe. There is nothing to be afraid of." So I slowly let go. And I think I was probably shaking so much I could have just fallen off. And it was like my toes were trying to cling to the side. So I walked out there, and of course the diving board starts to move the second you step on it. So it's a lot of it is about relaxing the body, becoming one with the experience. I looked down and I saw that water. I thought, I don't know if I can do this. This is so scary. But something inside said, you're going to do it and you're going to do it now. And I went ahead and did it. It was one of the most wonderful experiences because I felt as I was falling into the water, something shifted, something opened up, and I was able to embrace the water. And as I went down to the bottom of the pool, I touched the bottom. And there was something it was just like letting go. And that one exercise opened me up to letting go of my fear. See, sometimes it's just one little thing that we say yes to. Maybe it's a nagging thing that we've had for years. Try it this week. Notice your resistance when it comes up. Go ahead and ask yourself the question, what's behind it? And take it to the divine. I'm open to changing this. I'm open to surrendering. I'm open to trusting. And I'd like to let this go. Try it this week. Begin by taking that first step. And I'll be interested in knowing how this begins to shift your world over time. First it can start slow, but then the momentum builds, and before you know it, you're swinging those doors open faster than you can keep up with it. And you're moving back to the wholeness that you came here to be. Boy, I'm always up here, and there's so much more I want to share, and then I look at the time, and here we are. So I just want to do a prayer to really help to move this into your consciousness this morning. So I invite you to settle in and close your eyes. Let's just allow the love of the divine right now to show up fully and completely for us. Let's feel it. Let's push through any resistance and fall into the arms of the universe. Fall into the arms of God. And rest. And let's make a decision this morning to say yes to something that comes up that we are resisting. And let's just say yes to the first step. And this week I encourage you to take that step. Step over that threshold, because on the other side is freedom. Wouldn't it be nice to let go of all of the stuff that comes with resistance? Wouldn't it be nice to step out of what can sometimes be hell when we hold ourselves back? Do that this week. Do that starting today. Because when we go at it from a place of prayed up consciousness, as we talk about in our Science of Mind philosophy, we set ourselves up for success. And one of the most important keys here is surrender. Resistance is an inability and a refusal to surrender. But boy, when we finally surrender, something breaks open. Sometimes we need to just cry it out and feel it. But there's something that changes, and we can breathe. Because when you do that, when you apply that to your life, to your relationships, to your work, to yourself, something shifts, and you meet freedom. And then everything you need shows up. So then it becomes about awareness of what's before you and going ahead and once again letting go of resistance, saying yes. So that is my call to you for this week. Wish I had 45 more minutes. But I think that's enough for now to get you started, I hope. And we'll continue this journey, and it's about loving yourself giving yourself permission to return home to who you came here to be. That's honoring God right there. That's God's call. Be who I created you to be. Love yourself, because when you love yourself, you can love others. It's about doing our own work, and it's about just putting down that sword and saying yes. That one time will get it started. So I'm knowing for you this week that you embrace this, that you immediately begin to feel that flow of freedom. That you have that difficult conversation in honesty and integrity, and you meet the other person where they're at. That you make that phone call, you send that email for work. That all of the courage you need, all of the wisdom you need shows up. So with that, may you have a beautiful week. And I thank you. Peter's coming back up to give us another beautiful song. There's healing going on. Thank you, Peter.
Let me walk through the banks of the river of love, where the Spirit runs deep, baptized in the one, where there's no hesitation and the light is always seen, honoring all our differences, and love will set you free. Whoa. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. I said, oh, rock my soul. I said, oh, you rock my soul. Let's forget about the past. It's time to re-qualify. Forget to love, don't forget to lost. God knows we gotta try. It is my responsibility to heal the wounds in me. With faith and love and truth and hope, and love will set you free. Father God, there's a healing going on. Father God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. I said, oh, you rock my soul. I said, oh, you rock my soul. Said, Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. Whoa, Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. I say, oh, you rock my soul. I say, oh, you rock my soul. said, oh, you rock my soul.
Thank you, Peter. I just want to say, you know what? You guys have got this. You've got it. And we're going to do our offering now. And we have a beautiful song by Benny during our offering. Thank you. What a wonderful world. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Reverend Caroline to come up and do our healing prayer this morning. This is good because this is a way to let go of some resistance through this prayer. I'd like to invite you to do that.
Close your eyes if you wish, although that isn't mandatory. It truly is a wonderful world that we live in. And as Peter so beautifully his song, there's a healing going on, and that is the truth. We are healing right here, right now. Whatever it is you have need of, whatever type of healing, whatever is bothering you, we let it go back into the shadows from which it came, for it is not the truth of our being. Our truth is we walk in God's love with God's health and God's compassion and direction, surrounding us, guiding us, loving us, as so beautifully expressed in this morning's service. So let go of the doubts and the fears and know that right here, right now, healing is truly taking place, whatever we have need of. Thank you, God, for this wonderful world and this perfect healing, and so it is.
Okay, I've got something for you to do with me before we have our closing song. You know, Emma Curtis Hopkins said, "There's a good for me and I ought to have it." There's space for you here in this world and you ought to take it. When I say that, I added a little gesture that I do, and I'm inviting you to do that with me this morning. When we say that, let's stomp our foot. Because you know what? That makes it more powerful. You ready to do that? Okay, let's say it together. There is a good for me and I ought to have it. There we go. Doesn't that feel good? It's funny too, right? Okay. So our closing song by Peter. See it, feel it, and believe it, and you have a beautiful week. Thank you for being here today.
To see it, feel it, believe it, well, see it, feel it, believe it. Now, I believe the talk today was about commitment and forgoing all resentment and resistance to being your true self, your whole self. And you have to see that. You have to feel the message and you have to believe the message. But more importantly, you have to be the message. And that's what we try to convey with you with this song. Because wherever you go, whatever you do, as long as you see it, as long as you feel it, as long as you believe it, all things are possible for you today. You got to see it, feel it, believe it. And knowing that all things are possible, we embrace this. Embrace the faith, the love, and the truth that we all are. And we live to love another day. As long as you see it, feel it, and believe it. See it, feel it, believe it. Wow. You got to see it, feel it, believe it. Mr. Terry O'Hara, y'all. See it, feel it, believe it. Wow, you got to see it. Wow, you gotta believe it. All right, all things are possible in love and in life. Good morning.
Thank you, Peter. I want to quickly let you know that we have practitioners available. You just go to our website, csltacoma.org. They are there to help you if you're stuck. They are there to help you, so take advantage of that. Those of you online, we have practitioners available. So thank you once again. Take care.